coming up on UCF Nightly News. UCF gets a special visit from a CBS 60 Minutes correspondent.
Learn how a UCF researcher plans to suppress health complications with HIV patients.
Find out about some pushbacks the One Pulse Foundation is getting after unveiling its museum and memorial design.
And in sports, we'll see how the women's soccer team did in their game against UCF last night.
Nightly News starts now. Good afternoon and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Nicole Coughlin.
And I'm Jayla Wilkes. Today is Friday, November 1st, 2019.
UCF strives to make its campus safe, but some surrounding areas are causing the people who live there to feel unsafe. I spoke to a student who faced these dangers firsthand. As you are driving down Alafaya, you may pass two roads, Mendel and Darwin Drive. They are surrounded by apartment complexes directly across from UCF. The main difference of these apartments compared to others is the crime rate.
All of a sudden, a gunshot.
John Jacobs, a student at UCF, was mugged and robbed right in front of fraternity house Pi Kappa Phi.
We saw 4 guys pull up to a car, started going through it. I walked up to them, hey, who do you know here? That type of stuff. Asking to leave, you can't park here. And they got quite hostile quickly.
According to the Orange County Sheriff's Office, there have been 24 incidents since January 1st, all of them mainly burglaries to unlocked vehicles. Due to the amount of fraternity houses in this area, Jacobs tells me students call this area the Greek ghetto, although some residents are non-Greek affiliated as well. Orange County Sheriff's Office Captain Susan Wallace explains why this area has more issues than others.
For example, the Marquee Apartments, which is right in front of the Greek Row area, they have very high-tech security in those apartment complexes. They have cameras, multitude of cameras, and they have on-site security. We know that Greek Row doesn't have that.
Captain Wallace stated they have extra patrol in that area and encourages everyone, if they see something suspicious, to call 911. In Orlando, Nicole Coughlin, UCF Nightly News.
After hearing no from the Board of Trustees, the United Faculty Union returned to the negotiation table on Tuesday to discuss their pay. They met with trustees in Milliken Hall to discuss Article 17 and Article 23. The union and the board signed a tentative agreement on both articles. Article 17 talks about leaves, specifically the change from compulsory leave to recovery leave. Article 23 negotiates faculty salaries and a one-time bonus for faculty on November 22nd. History professor Giovanna Pineda says there was multiple wins through these agreements for the faculty, including extending the ethics training.
Before, faculty were required to do it by October 11, but now we've extended the deadline to November 22nd. And November 22nd should be remembered because not only is it the deadline, but it's also the day when people will be receiving their one-time bonus of $1,000.
The only article left on the table for negotiation is Article 18, discussing inventions and works, following the one-time bonus for this year. Salary negotiations for the 2021 school year will begin.
Legendary journalist Scott Pelley spoke to a room full of UCF students and faculty this week. Nightly News reporter Milan Martinez has the highlights from the inspiring night.
I hope it inspires a new generation.
60 Minutes correspondent Scott Pelley gave a lecture on the principles of journalism at the Nicholson School of Communication and Media on Monday, October 28, 2019. UCF alumna Megan Robinson graduated in December 2017 with a bachelor's in RTV production. She cleared her schedule to go to Scott's lecture.
The main reason why I came to this was because I grew up watching 60 Minutes. That was something that I always did with my grandmother growing up. So hearing that someone from 60 Minutes, especially Scott, was going to be here, I was super excited.
Megan is very happy for the opportunity to see Scott. She said seeing him in person made him real to her. Now this is the very room where Professor Brunson's class is held, and he was more than thrilled to have Scott teaching his class. Professor Richard Brunson is the Associate Instructor of Journalism for NSC. Through mutual connections, Brunson invited Pelly to come to UCF.
And instead of Skyping in, he would like to know if he could come to your class. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Can Scott Pelly come to my class? Why, yes, 1,000 times yes.
Professor Brunson brought Scott and Paulette Shank back together for the first time after Scott did a story on her in 2006. Scott presented that story during the class. The audience gave Scott a standing ovation at the end of his lecture. In Orlando, Milan Martinez, UCF Nightly News.
Professor Brunson plans to continue inviting guest speakers to come lecture during his classes. The One Pulse Foundation announced the design for its National Post Memorial and Museum.
Nightly News reporter Aaron Harris is in the studio with the story.
That's right, the One Pulse Foundation chose Codify and Associates as the winning design team for the National Post Memorial and Museum. The museum and memorial will have a pool encircling the Post nightclub and a garden that will have 49 trees planted in memory of the 49 victims who lost their lives during the shooting. Although One Pulse is moving forward with the plans for the museum and memorial, a group of Pulse survivors and family members of the victims do not support the plans for a museum. The Community Coalition Against a Pulse Museum band together to speak out against One Pulse's plan. I spoke with members of the coalition and One Pulse CEO Barbara Poma after the unveiling. Here's what they had to say.
That doesn't honor my son.
Christine Leinenen is the mother of Christopher Leinenen, a victim of the Pulse nightclub shooting and a UCF alumni. Leinenen is one of the 3 co-founders of the coalition. They say they don't want the Pulse Museum and Memorial to be built by the One Pulse Foundation because they feel they're profiting off of the deaths of the 49 victims.
They're commercializing the Pulse mass shooting. It's a tourist attraction, and we need to stop the tourist attraction.
They think the museum is a tourist attraction because One Pulse used the visitation numbers from the digital guest book at the interim memorial to apply for a tourism development tax grant. The coalition believes the nightclub should be torn down and the land it sits on should be public property. The owner of the nightclub and its land, Barbara Poma, says she's building the museum because people want to see it.
It's important that they're heard, and they are heard. But there's also a majority of others who do want to see the Memorial Museum come to fruition.
Sisley Santiago Leon lost her cousin Louise Daniel Wilson Leon in the shooting too. Leon says the museum will help the community.
It's going to lend itself for education, for community events, for, of course, and to let us tell our narratives of our family members and the survivors.
The coalition co-founder Zachary Blair says he would rather see a public memorial park than a museum.
A public memorial park is definitely something that would respectably honor those who were murdered.
Leinenen says she wants to see donations go to survivors and the museum be a center for mass shooting victims. Leinenen says that would honor her son. She says the coalition is going to continue to raise awareness to their fight against the museum. The museum is set to open in 2022.
Now that it's November, I feel like we're finally starting to feel that cooler fall weather.
I know, I've been waiting to break out my sweaters. Milan, how's the weather looking today?
Well, guys, it's actually finally starting to get a little chilly, but currently it is 70 degrees and the humidity is 66%, and the winds are coming out of the northeast at about 12 miles per hour, and the chance of rain is only at 10%. So you might want to bring a light jacket with you. And now back to Nicole and Jayla at the desk.
Coming up, we hear from UCF PD about the risks of owning a fake ID.
Plus, elected officials are working towards finding a solution for affordable housing in Orlando. Students expressed their concerns about affordable housing near UCF this week. One grad student said she had to pick up 2 part-time jobs while in school just to make ends meet. Nightly News reporter Sarah Nagy tells us about this growing problem.
Affordable housing is something that many students struggle to find, and it is an issue that is rarely discussed. According to a recent FAFSA report, there are about 3,500 homeless college students in Florida. Florida Representatives Anna Escamani and Carlos Guillermo-Smith, as well as County Commissioner Emily Bonilla, came out to UCF to speak on affordable housing for students on Tuesday night.
It's a myth that if you can afford tuition, then you're not homeless. And I think we need to dismantle that and realize that there's probably homeless students in this room right now.
College students sleeping in their cars, on couches, and even on the street is more common than most would think. County Commissioner Emily Bonilla says this issue hits home to her.
I was also a homeless student in college, so I was couch surfing when I was going to community college.
UCF students can expect to pay around $750 a month for a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom off-campus apartment just like this one. Students at the town hall on Tuesday pleaded for their elected officials to do something about this.
I think that housing, food, and transportation are essential to educational outcomes, and I came here to voice my concerns about that and the, in my opinion, failures of the county to be able to take that on properly.
The panelists and government officials say they hope to find a solution to this problem soon. Reporting in Orlando, Sarah Nagy, UCF Nightly News.
The panelists encourage students to reach out to their representatives with ideas, questions, and concerns about affordable housing.
A UCF student was arrested after police say he was selling a fake ID to an undercover officer on campus. According to police, 18-year-old Thomas Stiles faces charges of possessing or manufacturing fake IDs, along with possession of prescription medication without a prescription. UCF PD says it's common for students to get a fake ID to drink underage at local bars. UCF PD Commander James Manger says students using fake IDs will always be an issue, but he hopes they realize the risks they're taking.
What I hope changes is that at least the students have the information to make an informed decision, knowing that it is a felony to possess a fake ID, and this can affect you for years to come. And if you're at UCF to better yourself, why jeopardize your future?
Menger says a fake ID charge can also affect your ability to vote, be selected for jury duty, passing background checks, or joining the armed forces.
The Florida Department of Education says the numbers of teachers in Florida is declining rapidly. Nightly News reporter Nicole Gonzalez shows us what this means for UCF education majors.
The Florida Department of Education has announced a critical teacher shortage in core classes like math, science, and English. But public schools aren't the only ones affected by the shortage. Olivia Correa was originally a secondary education major before changing to health sciences. She says it was important for her to see if she belonged inside the classroom.
It could be attributed to like students like me, like getting out there like in the teaching field and seeing like if it's for them or not.
The FDE has estimated a shortage of 3,500 teachers statewide. And with the number of teachers declining, student population is rising.
The teacher shortage is becoming more prominent because more schools need to increase the number of students per classroom.
UCF has even announced a pathway with Lake County schools to address the issue. Leanne Spalding, an associate lecturer at the College of Community, Innovation, and Education, says teaching is more than just lecturing.
Understand some of the societal factors that are promoting, assisting, helping, but also, on the flip side, challenging teachers to best educate children.
Getting inside the classroom will provide students with opportunities and insight that will help with fighting the decline. Reporting in Orlando, Nicole Gonzalez, UCF Nightly News.
The College of Community Innovation and Education hopes their new partnership with Lake County Schools will prepare students for careers inside the classroom.
Coming up, find out how UCF is finding new approaches to address human trafficking.
And we'll take a look at the weather for tomorrow's home. A UCF professor says the tourism in Orlando leads to high numbers of human trafficking. Professor Roberto Potter is now leading UCF's Center for the Study of Human Trafficking and Modern-Day Slavery. According to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, Florida is a prime target for human traffickers. UCF is working to better educate students on the signs of human trafficking. Dr. Potter, who currently teaches criminal justice, says he is working on new ways to provide support and assistance to students and survivors of human trafficking.
The Center for Disease Control says the city of Orlando ranks #2 for new HIV diagnosis among U.S. cities. The antiviral drug to suppress the virus has been proven to cause damage to the body. Nightly News reporter Maneta Bailey tells us how a UCF researcher plans to solve this.
UCF College of Medicine researcher Dr. Manish Gupta works towards finding a new supplement drug to protect people who are living with HIV. While the lifespan of a person living with the disease is now 25 years longer, the antiviral drug being taken by those living with the disease to suppress the virus has been proven to cause other complications like heart disease.
My lab is looking for the mechanism that is causing the heart failure in HIV patients. And we think if we can improve the mitochondrial function, then we can suppress the cardiovascular disorder.
Dr. Gupta's research examines different drugs on a HIV NEF protein cell and studies the effects it has on the heart. Gupta hopes to find a supplement drug that will not negatively impact the human body like the current antiviral drug does now. Dr. Gupta and his assistants hope that the research that they're doing in this lab will positively impact those living with HIV and help people better understand what the disease does to the body. Ashley Burdett, a research assistant helping Dr. Gupta, says HIV directly impacts her life. One of Burdett's family members lives with the disease.
The fact that they see me trying to break down these barriers to make their lives more comfortable is comforting for them.
Burdett hopes the research she is conducting will help her family member live a close to normal life. In Orlando, Maneta Bailey, UCF Nightly News.
Gupta and his research team recently received a 4-year, $2.2 million grant from the National Institutes of Health towards their research.
I'm looking forward to going to the football game tomorrow. Nikki, are you planning on going?
I think so, but it really depends on how the weather's going to be. Let's check in with Milan to see what it's going to look like.
All right, so let's get into it. The highs for Florida is 65 degrees in Tallahassee, 66 in Jacksonville, 82 in Tampa, 78 in Orlando, and a warm 88 in Miami. Now let's go to the lows. The lows in Tallahassee are 43, Jacksonville is 57, Tampa is 67, Orlando is 68, and a warm 76 in Miami. Now let's look at the 5-day forecast. So for Saturday, 81 is the high, the low is 63, and a 20% chance of rain. Sunday is 79 degrees with a low of 68, 0%. Monday is 84 degrees with a low of 70. Tuesday is 85 degrees with a low of 71. And Wednesday is 85 with a low of 70. Now back to Nicole and Jayla.
Coming up, the women's UCF soccer team took on the Bulls for their senior night last night.
Plus, we'll hear how the Knights football team is getting ready to take on Houston tomorrow.
Hey Knights fans, I'm Jasmine Haynes, and this is your UCF Nightly News Sports Update. The Knights beat the 24-ranked Bulls 1-0 last night. They have held 5 of their last 6 opponents scoreless and only allowed 1 goal in those 6 games combined. Freshman Ellie Moreno scored the lone goal for the Knights late in the first half. Goalie Caroline Delisle had the save to keep the Bulls off the board. The Knights secured a playoff spot in the American Conference Tournament. The Knights football team is getting ready to take off for tomorrow when they play Houston in the 2019 Space Game. Nightly News reporter Caitlin Pickens lets us know how the coach and the players are prepared for the game.
The 6-2 Knights are coming off a high from their latest victory against Temple, the same team they faced in the 2018 Space Game in their black custom uniforms. Wide receiver Trey Nixon says getting that away game W was important.
Road games, of course, we did take a loss. And, coming on the road again and getting that win at Temple is always a good feeling.
Head coach Josh Heupel says the focus now is getting the team better for the face-off against Houston.
Yeah, for us as competitors, you got to move on to the next one, and it's getting prepared for a Houston football team that's extremely athletic, and we got to get ourselves ready to go play our best at 12 o'clock.
The players will be sporting new white custom-made uniforms for the upcoming match.
Knight Nation is preparing for launch tomorrow when they take on Houston right here in the Bounce House for the Space Game. You could say these new uniforms are out of this world.
Tomorrow is UCF's third Space Game. The new sleeve features a Pegasus constellation, which the school says pays homage to UCF's original name, Florida Technological University, with the idea of supporting the U.S. space program at the nearby Kennedy Space Center. Knight's running back Otis Anderson talks about looking good versus playing good on the field.
When you get dressed, you kind of look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, yeah, I look good. But once you're on the field, you kind of forget.
Coach Heupel says running back Greg McCrae will sit out his second game in a row tomorrow, but he says running back Adrian Killens will play against Houston. Reporting in Orlando, Caitlin Pickens, UCF Nightly News.
The game day tailgate opens at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, leading up to the noon kickoff against Houston. And that's all we have for sports. Back to Nicole and Jayla at the desk.
That's our time for right now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week by following us on Instagram at UCF Nightly News.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.